In the golden age of Antarctic exploration, one name stands alongside legends like Scott and Shackleton. Yet his story of survival is arguably the most harrowing of them all. This is the story of Douglas Mawson, the geologist who stared death in the face in the bleakest place on Earth and refused to blink. Born in England in 1882, but raised in Australia, Mawson was a brilliant academic, a lecturer in mineralogy and petrology by his early 20s. But the call of the wild, the lure of the unknown, was stronger than the comfort of the lecture hall. His first taste of the Antarctic came with Ernest Shackleton's En-Rod expedition from 1907 to 1909. As part of the first team to climb Mount Erebus and to reach the South Magnetic Pole, Mawson proved he was no mere academic. He was a tough, resilient polar explorer. But this was just the beginning. While Scott and Amundsen were racing for the geographic South Pole, Mawson had a different vision. He wasn't interested in a race. He was interested in science. He organized the Australasian Antarctic Expedition of 1911 to 1914, a monumental undertaking to chart the unknown coastline of Antarctica directly south of Australia, a vast expanse than just a blank on the map. They established 3 bases, with the main one at Cape Denison in what Mawson called the home of the blizzard. The name was no exaggeration. The katabatic winds there are the most ferocious on the planet, regularly exceeding 100 miles per hour. It was an environment of unparalleled hostility. For over a year, the expedition conducted vital scientific research. They mapped new lands, studied the geology, the biology, and the weather of this alien continent. Then came the summer of 1912, and the fateful sledging journey that would etch Mawson's name into the annals of survival. On November 10, 1912, Mawson set out with 2 companions, a young, strapping Swiss ski champion named Xavier Mertz, and a robust British Army officer, Lieutenant Belgrave Ninnis. Their mission was to survey the unknown eastern coastline, a journey into the complete unknown. They had 3 sledges, a team of 16 strong dogs, and supplies for several weeks. For the first month, things went well. They made good progress, covering over 300 miles of unexplored territory. Spirits were high. On December 14th, the team was crossing a vast, snow-covered glacier. Mawson was on his sledge up front, Mertz was skiing behind him, and Ninnis was bringing up the rear with the main sledge, which carried most of their food and the best dogs. Mawson looked back and saw Mertz waving his ski pole, a look of horror on his face. Mawson turned around. Where Ninnis should have been, there was nothing, just an empty expanse of snow. He rushed back. Mertz was standing at the edge of a massive, gaping crevasse. The snow bridge Ninnis had been crossing had collapsed without a sound. They peered into the dark blue abyss. Far below, they could see the bodies of 2 dogs on a ledge, but of Ninnis and the sledge there was no sign. They had vanished into the depths. They called his name for hours, their voices swallowed by the immense silence of the Antarctic. There was no reply. Ninnis was gone, and with him their tent, most of their food, all of the dog food, and their best dogs. The 2 survivors were more than 300 miles from base, with only 10 days' worth of human food for a journey that would take at least a month. Their only other source of food was their 6 remaining emaciated dogs. Mawson and Mertz were faced with a terrible choice, but it was their only choice. They turned back, a desperate, heart-wrenching race against starvation. The return journey was a slow-motion nightmare. They were forced to eat their loyal sled dogs one by one. The meat was tough and stringy, but it was food. However, they also ate the dogs' livers. Unbeknownst to them, husky liver contains toxic, fatally high levels of vitamin A. The condition is called hypervitaminosis, and both men began to suffer. They suffered from dizziness, nausea, and excruciating stomach pain. Mertz, a vegetarian who had struggled to eat the dog meat, deteriorated faster. He became delirious, racked with pain and frostbite. On January 8, 1913, inside their small tent amidst a howling blizzard, Xavier Mertz died. Mawson was now utterly alone. He was 100 miles from base, weak, starving, and slowly being poisoned. He wrote in his diary, "My whole body is apparently rotting from within. I am in a very bad condition." The temptation to give up, to simply lie down in the snow and let the end come, must have been overwhelming. But something inside him, an iron will to live, refused to yield. He used a pocket saw to cut his sledge in half, making it lighter to pull. He wrapped his feet, where the soles had completely peeled off, in bandages and scraps of fur. Then he began to walk. Each step was an agony. At one point, he fell into a crevasse, saved only by the sledge rope that caught on the edge. He dangled helplessly in the void, the cold darkness below him. He was too weak to pull himself up. He considered letting go. But then, a vision of his fiancée, Paquita, and the life they would have, spurred him on. With a final superhuman effort, he hauled his broken body out of the crevasse and continued his solitary march. Finally, on January 29th, he stumbled upon a snow cairn left by a search party. Inside was a bag of food and a note. The note informed him that he had missed the relief ship, the Aurora, by just a few hours. A small party of 6 men had been left behind to wait for his return, just in case. Energized by the food and a hope of rescue, he pushed on. On February 8, 1913, a figure was spotted staggering towards the hut at Cape Denison. It was Douglas Mawson. He was a skeleton of his former self, his face blackened by frostbite, his body emaciated. He had walked for 30 days alone, surviving against all conceivable odds. Because he had missed the ship, Mawson and the 6 men who stayed behind had to endure another year in the home of the blizzard before they could finally return to Australia in 1914. He returned a hero. He married his beloved Paquita and went on to a long and distinguished career in academia. He led further expeditions to the Antarctic and was knighted for his contributions to science and exploration. But his legacy is defined by that solitary journey back from the brink. It's a story that goes beyond mere exploration. It's a testament to the absolute limit of human endurance, the power of the will to live against impossible odds. Douglas Mawson wasn't just a scientist or an explorer. He was a survivor whose epic tale of resilience continues to inspire and humble us to this day. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as incredible as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more tales of remarkable lives.